you know what we should do to really get a rise out of people? Instead of actually saying who we like, we should have Mason pick a class of car and we'll go, yay, nay.
Yay. Or we'll just say whose paint schemes we don't like this year.
This is a throwback.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Track Packers podcast for episode 5 of season 3. We have some good weather. We've had some not so good weather. Racing season is still coming up soon. Hopefully, we'll be racing soon. Myself, Mason, along with the usual cast of characters, Jessup Pelkey, Becca Pelkey, and our Carlsrud for this episode is Mr. John Breckle. Everyone's looking nice and perky, nice and in good mood, even though weather is not cooperating for this week's of racing, but we'll be talking some fun stuff here on this episode. We want to give a shout out to our presenting sponsor, Hitch Harness, Tyler Hall out of Fertile, Minnesota, who's getting ready for the race season himself. Definitely go check out all the products on hitchharness.com and check out his main product, the Hitch Harness, made for receiver hitch storage, efficient and safe for truck owners. Check out all the other inventory, especially the chassis dollies for the racers, pole bar brackets, all sorts of things for the racers. And I want to thank him so much for supporting us over the last year or so. And so thank you once again, Tyler, for supporting us on the podcast. If this is your first time listening or watching us, be sure to give us a like, give us a follow on the Facebook page. YouTube is where we post the videos as well, and Spotify, Google, and Apple in the podcast form. And as you can tell, we finally have a lineup change for the first time this year.
Wait,
we
what?
had a caution. Yes,
What?
we had a caution last episode that put Miss Becca Pelkey to the rear of the field.
What? No.
Yeah, it was.
And this will be the insert of the clip here.
Why?
And 3, 2,
What did I do?
now. Caution on the track for Becca not being in the proper form of the format of the podcast. If Becca
Well, first of all, she
comfortable,
has to unmute herself. That's
Well,
the
that
first.
too.
That's the first objective.
Caution on Becca for the mute.
Well, considering you were in a different, we'll just call it area for the podcast, you muted yourself and we had to throw a caution because you kind of messed up the flow a little bit.
Oh, well, that's
just life.
I kind of got overruled on that, and so the lineup now is Mr. John Breckle on the pole, followed by Jessup Pelkey, myself, and Becca.
If we threw cautions for everything Jessup said on this podcast, I mean, there'd be a zillion cautions, so.
This is true, but I will give Jessup credit. He's been very well behaved to start this year.
He has. He's been a very well-behaved grasshopper.
You know, starting in the rear of the field has really taught me a lot. As Becca throws something and now she disappears, I'm in fear for my life.
Well,
anyways, it's really taught me a lot.
It's
It's taught me that life is just a nice gradual race. It's like one of those big money show races. You slowly got to work your way through the field and let all the other ham and eggers in life spin out and crash and go to the rear of the field. So with that, I appreciate you ham and eggers behind me, Mason and Becca, and John and I. We are the real competition, as we are known as the real, and the real deal is Brock. So
yeah, that was kind of rude.
This won't take long for him to have a caution, so he
no,
can enjoy.
You're on thin ice for that comment. John Breckle, how are you doing this week?
I am doing awesome. It is good to be on the pole. Yes, it is an awesome week. Unfortunately, though, weather does not look well this weekend for any kind of racing. So I don't think we're going to get any type of good racing action in this weekend. So other than that, though, everything else is going pretty good up here. And unfortunately, I will miss you guys next week on the podcast as well as opening night, as I will be busy at the National Bowling Tournament. But it is going to be a fun upcoming week.
Question.
Yes, Jessup.
So with John missing the call for the, to start, does that put him at the rear of the field?
I think what we've done in the past is I think we have moved the individual to the rear of the field because it's kind of like the same way, like if you like
missed a race.
Yeah, you missed a
Mhm.
race. You kind of like
Sorry, John,
point
it's
average is
not
kind of
fair.
wrecked. You start in the back.
It's
Yeah,
not fair.
it's
John.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Becca will have like a black flag moment tonight, so she'll still be behind me because we have to keep those DQ'd cars behind other cars.
We'll see.
We shall see. Mr. Jessup Pelkey, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, all things considered. We got some new parts and pieces to Dacotah Speedway TV. Not really new, just more replacement, backup spares. Get ready for the upcoming year. Kind of get ready to implement some newer stuff over the next maybe 2 years, and have it on hand just in case if anything does go down. So we're pretty excited about that.
Well, I suppose even though racing for this weekend over Mandan's canceled, we probably could use the few extra days to kind of get everything all put together and ironed out.
Yeah, yeah. We've got some stuff to work on in the tower. John got a little too rowdy with the amps last year, and now we got to replace some amps. But no, we're just waiting it out. And if you think about it, race season usually used to never start until early May. So, great idea having the potential for April races. But if it, you know, is too cold, rains out, or whatever out, we'll be ready to go whenever we get the green flag to get the season going.
I'm doing well myself. It was awesome to be at the track for the first time up here in the upper Midwest for the season. And fortunately, it can be another week before pretty much everywhere else is ready to go. But taking advantage of the extra few days to get ready and get things ironed out before the racing season starts. Miss Becca, how are you doing?
If you would have asked me that on Saturday or Sunday or Monday morning, I think I would have told you I'm pretty stressed just because we did have some issues that we ran into in the tower while setting up. So got the internet up and running, which means now we can use a lot of those wireless devices, whether that's like printers or getting or just accessing the internet. We couldn't access the internet on Saturday, so we couldn't use our programs like My Race Pass or anything like that, and I couldn't download the new MyLapse Orbits software. Which if you're the scoring person at a racetrack and listening or watching this podcast, there are some new updates for your scoring and MyLapse and Orbits software. So be sure to do that before racing season starts because you don't want to be surprised on opening night. So I still need to do that now that we have the internet up and working, but we got another week to figure that out. But I'll probably be at the track on Friday, even though we aren't racing. And then, yeah, as John and Jessica alluded to, our amplifier at the racetrack died over the off season. So I was able to get that figured out on Monday afternoon, and we'll have a new amplifier by the end of the week, and that'll be installed next week. And the guy is going to also test out all of our speakers on the property, so that'll be a nice thing to have because I don't know when the last time we've done that at Dacotah Speedway. Yeah, I think it'll be much needed. So earlier this week I would have been a little stressed. I'm feeling a little bit better now, especially since we did postpone the Mandan Meltdown at Dacotah Speedway. We'll be racing next Friday and Saturday, April 26th and 27th. Looking forward to it. Hopefully the weather pans out. It looks like better weather, but I don't know, the forecast, it can change pretty quickly here in the spring, so who knows what's going to happen. But yeah, looking forward to a weekend, another weekend to prep and get ready for the upcoming racing season. So
yes, test and tune, great for the racers, great for the track people to make sure everything's all in order, because I'm sure that was a big surprise on Saturday evening. And so, yeah, definitely excited for when the race season starts to see all the new upgrades. I know there's a lot of tracks around the area that have been doing some upgrades behind the scenes. And so definitely going to be a good 2024 season whenever we get started here in the next couple weeks. Before we kind of get into the bulk of our show and who or what are we repping, we want to send our thoughts and prayers out to the Peterson family with the loss of Julie, the mother of the family, who's been battling cancer for the last several years. And so definitely a hard hit to the racing community out in the Grand Forks area and for the Petersons. And so I know there's been a lot of tributes over the last year or so. There's even more tributes as far as paint schemes go coming into this year. So it's definitely going to be on the thoughts and minds of many people for 2024. So just want to send our thoughts and prayers out to the Peterson family. So with that, let's start episode 5 with the waving of the green flag or drop of the green flag, whatever you prefer, and get into who or what are we repping. We will start with the pole sitter, Mr. John Breckel.
Okay, so I went back a little bit in time. You know me, I'm kind of a retro person a little bit. But since we're not starting dirt track racing this weekend, unfortunately, with the weather, so it looks like majority of the tracks around the local area have canceled. I decided to go a more NASCAR route.
Awesome.
So because they're going to Talladega.
Oh,
That's a caution. Put a caution out on me. Because that
corrected yourself.
definitely was wrong.
You corrected
Oh
himself.
gosh. You want a caution on that?
So I would
I
put a
think
caution on
after
myself on that one.
That's kind of an egregious one for you.
Yes, I would definitely put a caution out for me on that one. Since they're going to Talladega this weekend and running, basically a restrictor plate race, going through and making sure there's gonna be a lot of pack racing and everything else, I decided to go with a guy that has rolled at Talladega, and that is Mark Martin. And okay, guys, what year was this paint scheme?
I feel like I'm not qualified to answer this question.
2003.
2009.
Beck is right.
He was runner-up in 2009, and he actually rolled at Talladega in the fall race in this paint scheme. So unfortunately, Mark rolled, but he had a really good 2009 season when he joined Hendrick for that year, and had a really, really strong championship performance and ended up second to Jimmy Johnson in the final standings, and kind of a resurgence for him a little bit back in 2009 because he had run a little bit like part-time a couple years before that, and then got back into it full time with Hendrick for about 3 years before he kind of went back down to more of a part-time schedule with Michael Waltrip to end out his career.
Yep, that was a fun year as a Mark Martin fan. Definitely was not expected him to come back full time at all after 2006 was his last full time year before that, and so that was a nice little treat for the Mark Martin fans to see him competitive again. Awesome shirt. I definitely approve of that. Mr. Jessup Pelkey, who or what are you repping?
I have no idea who this person is.
We
So
like obscurity on the show.
we're continuing on with the obscure shirts, but I'm going to follow John's line of thinking, and let's see if I can get this all lined up here. It is Mark Poole of Howard's Racing, and it's got, I don't know where he's from. I think it's an out west driver, just because a lot of our a lot of my Montana shirts are of an asphalt track out there, so I'm thinking maybe out there. I could be wrong, but I don't know. This one's going into the donate pile after tonight.
I have a question. If you could put the shirt back on screen for a brief moment. What number is he?
98. 96.
Jessup, we're no longer in the front row.
Okay, whatever.
Although Becca's the only one that has not had a caution yet this episode, so
Yeah.
Mason's back on the outside of the front row.
It's funny how Becca went from the rear of the field just to the front of the lineup just that quick. Cool shirt though.
we had to give her a head start. She races like Haley Deegan.
That's mean, John.
Well, Haley Deegan has a lot of bad luck, and I don't know if Becca really has
Bad luck. She does not have a lot of bad luck. She has a lot of no skill.
Come on, John, give it to him.
Yeah,
I
I
think
could
she
think of
has
like
won often this year.
I could name several instances where she got wrecked and it was not her fault.
Was that including the
I can
one where
also
she
name
drove
several
into the
instances
wall?
that she wrecked when somebody was in front of her, not even close to her accident, and she still spun out and wrecked herself.
Well,
My
that is
favorite,
true.
my favorite
So
Haley.
John now is on the outside of the front row. Oh, how quickly John went from the rear of the field to back to the
Right back
front
up.
row. You see, I have some sympathy and empathy for her because I too struggle when there's a crash in front of me, 15 cars ahead, and I plow through it in the World of Outlaws game.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
You can
Anyways, we'll move on. I'll go next on who or what are we repping. Repping Dalton Albrecht for the hat. This week, the koozie is Paul Schultz Racing number 3. Longtime veteran out in western central North Dakota. I can't remember what. It's been a while since I've seen him at the track, at least.
He still comes from time to time.
let us pull this up on my
His
race.
son, Aaron Oseth, races in the modifieds now. So it's been a long time since I've seen him at the track, but I would bet he still goes from time to time. But yeah, I've seen him at the track.
Okay. Yeah. Grew up watching him all across North Dakota, down in Mandan, of course, and up in Minot. He'd race up there frequently. And for the shirt, I'm repping Andrea McCain. She's out of Kimball, Minnesota, drives a 25A IMCA stock car. This is one of her paint schemes from a few years back, and she's actually been racing quite a bit to start the year. I think she went down to Arizona. She's been down in Iowa. She's had some rough luck and kind of had some troubles to start the year. And so hopefully the luck will turn around for her. She travels quite a bit throughout for several IMCA racing events. Would love to see her come on the Dacotah Classic modified and stock car tour one of these years. I think she would really enjoy racing up here with all the competition up here. And so that is who I am repping for this episode. And that leaves Miss Becca Pelkey for who or what are you repping?
So this week I am repping the 2nd annual Mary Vetter Hobby Stock Challenge shirt for 2024. So that this will be the 2nd year for the Mary Vetter Hobby Stock Challenge. So it's got last year's champion, which is Jaden Michelson, on the front, and we got some sponsors who will help out with the tour on back. So nice little tour put on by Brandon Vetter out of Issac. So the tour will be back starting in Jamestown. It'll go to Mandan and then wrap up with a double header down at the Tri-County Speedway in Issac. So it was very well supported last year. I hope to see more hobby stock drivers from across the state come on tour this year, and I can't wait to see what happens. So should be a good time. But yeah, very nice shirt for the 2nd annual Mary Vetter Hobby Stock Challenge.
Absolutely. And a sneak preview for the next episode. I actually had Brandon Vetter on to talk a little bit about the Mary Vetter Challenge for its 2nd year. So stay tuned for the next episode. We'll have Brandon on and kind of share some more tidbits about the challenge and some more things that they decided to add for this year. So definitely encouraged to see what it's going to look like. I think it's going to be a really good opportunity and another opportunity for spotlight for the hobby stock drivers as well.
Yeah, guys, it was really well attended last year. I think Mandan we almost had 30 cars, I want to say, in the pits for it. Jamestown had over 30. Wishick had 20 some. So yeah, it was a really, really, really good representation and a really good tour to go through and basically, honor Mary in her memory at the tracks that she really enjoyed going to and watching her sons race.
Absolutely. Excited for year 2 of that. We'll move on into our hot sauce segment, the hot sauce memory rewind. Shout out to Isaac Sondrol. Today we're recording on the 17th. It's actually his birthday. So happy birthday, Isaac. Looking forward to seeing you out on the racetrack with your new race car this year. If you're in the area, stop by in the pits, check out the Sondrol Snack Shack. It's going to look a little upgraded for this year with a new trailer and everything. And so always a great person to talk to in the pits, and excited to see him try to knock down that first feature win the IMCA Modified this year. So thank you, Isaac, for supporting us on the podcast. Jessup, the floor is yours. What do you have for us?
Well, Mason, we got some tough ones for John. I'm gonna give him a little bit of a hint here because it's a different class than what we've been doing lately. So, John, we're going into the Soda Superstock division this week. All right, I got 3 drivers. All 3 of them are going to be from the same year. So, 3 different locations across Minnesota. So these should be, I think you should be able to get at least one of these. Okay. So we're going to start with the first one.
Ooh,
A very
the
common
number.
number in dirt track racing, number
I was
1.
gonna say a very common number from the
That
super
narrows down.
stock days.
Now, you want a hint?
I do want a hint.
This racing family is I would say, known in the general vicinity that I'm originally from.
Is the Nessets?
No,
The Hankameyers?
no. This family has. Let's see, how do I say family? This is a driver. How do I want?
Minnesota?
It is. I'll just say the name. It is Steve Rosine.
Okay. Then that name sounds familiar.
Yes, they are intertwined or somehow related with the Loftall family.
Oh,
Okay.
And they had a super stock special, I think. Ooh, man, I've been out here. It's got to be at least 7 or 8 years ago now, back at Princeton. He used to have a red Super One Foods super stock as well. But we'll move on to the
is
next one.
is he really? He's not related to Corey at all, is he?
I don't know that
I
aspect.
don't. I don't think. I think their names are spelled different in the back. I think.
It is.
I think it's.
R-
Is he got 2 O's?
Nope, just one.
Okay.
Roseen, Rosine.
Oh,
I don't even know if
yep.
that's correct.
So then they're different because Corey Rosen is spelled just a little bit different.
All right, you ready for picture number 2?
Yes.
This driver comes from north of the border.
Rod Fiddler.
No. They hail out of Brandon, Manitoba. I just picked this one because I like the way the car looks, to be honest.
Car looks pretty sweet. I mean, it's
It does.
it's a very nice paint scheme.
Mm-hmm.
That
This
paint scheme,
is
that paint scheme kind of reminds me of something from like one of the Demolition Derby games I'd play on PlayStation 1.
the disrespect.
You tell him, Jessup.
This is a throwback scheme.
You definitely tell him, Jessup. That was just
It was,
rude.
but the funny part is, this one wouldn't be a throwback back in its day. This is Rich Lane
Okay.
of Brandon, Manitoba, and only reason why I picked it, it looks cool, and it looks like maybe that's not Jamestown, but I just saw the big swamp, and I thought maybe it could be Jamestown. Going to our last one, John.
Okay.
This one, I have faith that you will get.
That is Jody. That is. Oh, this one's actually might be kind of hard. This one is either
a sponsor.
it's either Jody Olson or it's Joey Peterson.
Oh, I'm not going to say that you're wrong, but you have the right name. But which one, John? Which one?
I know. I've got
One more time. One more look.
It's Jody Olson. Am I right? Really?
It's Joey Peterson.
Wow.
That is funny. Because
According
they
to the
have-
name,
They
according to
both
the
have
name on the
Mohawk Salvage. Because Mohawk
Uh,
Salvage was a big sponsor for Jody Olson back in the day too.
according to the name on the back of it, it says Joey Peterson.
Okay, let's look back at the car again. Just one more time. Okay.
Oh, he's gonna fact
He's-
check or back check it.
I mean, he might be right. Let's see.
Because Jessup, what so
What years?
You know what?
oh
think
that's
John-
definitely Jody Olson.
I was just gonna. I'm looking at the
Because
roof
it's
line.
from
I think John's right.
1995.
You got the year.
Yep, because I found both Steve's car and Jody's car in the
I think John's right. This might
class.
be a mislabel here.
That
Because looking
is.
at the roof line, most drivers usually have their names on the roof line, and it's a little shorter than what I would expect of a Peterson. So good job, John. Well played,
Okay.
sir.
So Mason, I want you to do a little bit of a research on here. You bring up your computer here. We're going to share screens really quick.
Okay.
We're going to do this live.
We're gonna do this live.
Give me the page name.
Okay, so it's going to be Western Wanderer.
Oh,
It's
John's
J.R.
Oh.
Hughes. J.R. Hughes Racing. You can type anything in for Google, and you can bring them up. And then you're going to have to go to the side of the site that you're going to have to hit on is you're going to have to go to Eastern South Dakota Racing Scene.
I'm not gonna lie, I found another picture, John. For this time, this was I think would be a pretty sharp looking car.
That actually might be Joey Peterson.
This might be Jody Peterson because it says Jody Olson on the back.
I'm pretty sure that's Joey Peterson.
Oh gosh.
I bet you're right.
Am I looking at 1995 Brown County
You know what?
Speedway?
You are
1995
right.
Brown County.
John, you are right because this one has a Grand Forks on as one of the sponsors on there. So,
Yep.
well, we got both of them.
Okay, so now Mason, now bring up that picture. Okay, now go to page 3.
Oh my gosh.
This is
What
John's.
place is this? This is pretty
There's
neat.
Jody's car right there from
There it is.
1995.
Ha!
Wow.
That's awesome. But John
And Mason,
cheated.
if you go back,
And with
go
that,
back to page
Mason,
2. You have to go to page 2. And if you scroll down a little bit, oh, stop. Click on Steve and the number 1. There's Steve's car also from 1995.
Wow. Dang.
Okay, John. Let's see how many they have on here. Let's see. Do they have this car, John? Of Scott Anderson.
What hell, Mason?
Go down, Mason.
It's right there. Right there.
I feel so bad for our people who are just listening off like Apple Podcasts or whatever. But this is by far okay. Let's go to the next one. Mike Qualley, number 3, with a Q. Q-U-A-L-L.
Mason, it's on there too. It's 3 down.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe Kurt and the Western Wanderer were at the same race this same weekend.
All right. Who's
Okay.
the next one, John?
Oh, I've
Um,
seen that car before.
Probably
I
on the
have
Western Wanderer website.
No, I actually have seen. I have definitely seen who that is.
Jeff
not who I think it is.
Ruzich?
Yes. Yes.
As I put it back all the way, the Western Wanderer and John Breckles
That's nuts.
resourcing. And I just want people to understand we have quite a few of these to go through. This is another box strictly of Wasota Super Stocks.
Yeah, and I am not an expert at all in super stocks. I never really watched them growing up, so I'm like, I don't
Or
know
as
anything.
Or as one of my new favorite announcers says, the Super Stocks.
Shout out to the announcer at Grand Rapids Speedway, which I never figured out what his name is.
I don't know, but he makes the races more amusing than they really need to be or should be, and I enjoy it. Some people get mad, but you know what? We can't be super serious on every little race there is. I'm not saying that any race at Grand Rapids is little. It amuses me. That and the MWM SmackDown, which really should be the Sport Mod and Midwest Mods names, or the USRA B Mods. They can all be known as the MWM SmackDown. So that wraps up this week's Hot Sauce Memory Rewind, whatever.
Good
What
job,
is it
Jessup.
called, Mason? Is it the
Yeah.
hot sauce
I
memory
mean, you're the one
rewind?
that named the segment, so
I don't know. I gave you the idea for the segment. You named it.
the hot sauce hot memory rewind. Yes, a tongue twister.
Hot sauce hot
Hot.
memory rewind.
Sauce, hot
Yes.
rewind.
Good job.
Excellent.
Your turn to say it, John. Hot sauce.
The hot sauce, hot memory, rewind.
Becca,
Be
your
an
turn.
announcer.
Your turn, Becca.
Hot sauce. Wait, what was it again?
Hot sauce,
Hot memory rewind.
rewind.
Mason, you're really gonna have to cut a bunch of this out.
Yeah, there's already a bunch of editing I have to do.
Mason's gonna have
And
a
with
ton of editing that he hasn't had all year.
With
Things have been clean so far this year. Unfortunately, this is not one of those. Excellent. Always fun to look back in time. And now that we have an extra source to kind of fact check a little bit some of the pictures we may come across. And so thank you once again, Jessup. We'll move into our track pack report. Of course, all four of us were over at the Dacotah Speedway for Test and Tune on Saturday. Bunch of cars showed up, or a lot of cars, as some would
Yeah.
say.
yeah, a lot of people would say that, Mason, because there were a lot of cars, and if
Mhm.
there's a lot of cars, there's a lot of people.
True. A lot of people in the pits. What were some takeaways from Test and Tune?
Oh,
Well, my first takeaway was the legend class is quite large again this year.
there were late models there. I was happy about that.
There were late models. There's also
And
a
they-
sprint car,
Did you say winged sprint car?
wingless.
No, he said
Oh.
wingless.
Okay, I was like, Mason. The late models look like rocket ships out there compared to all the other classes, and it's no disrespect for anyone. They just looked bad fast.
Yeah, I was in the infield for a couple of those sessions when they were out with the mods, I believe, right?
They were with
Yes.
mods. Yep.
Yep.
I just remember seeing the acceleration, the mods coming out of the corner, and all of a sudden here go the late mod. I was like, whoo, I'm like, oh
Yeah, the late models would just go fly by him on the bottom.
That was pretty fun to watch.
yeah.
So it was a good day. Beautiful weather. I mean, weather was
Yep.
gorgeous. Quite a few actually fans that came into the grandstands too and just participated in Test and Tune because grandstands were free, so anybody could come in at any time, and kind of go from there. And other good news. So Jess have already mentioned it, lots of cars, and we did not really have any damage from anybody during Test and Tune, so that was another good thing. I mean, we definitely had spin outs and everything else, but luckily no cars got destroyed.
Yeah, and I don't think there was any like engine trouble. Well, I mean, there's probably some people that have like internal
Little bit.
problems that we don't say, but like we didn't really have any engine issues that I saw because I know in previous years there's been a couple of blown engines at practice day.
Yes.
Yeah, so thankfully, yeah, everyone seemed to get some good laps underneath them. They got several runs because it went from about 5:30 until 9 o'clock, and so definitely no shortage of opportunities to get out on the racetrack. And the track looked like it was in pretty good condition too.
Yep.
Just a bummer. 'Cause the weather was so nice. I think it got to the 80s. Hardly any wind. And then it just got cold again. So kind of just a bummer that it was so nice out for Test and Tune, and now it's getting really cold again. And that's just spring in North Dakota. The weather is pretty unpredictable at this time of year, but hopefully the weather will warm back up and we can go back out to the track soon. So
Absolutely. There
I
was
mean, we have the keys. We can go back whenever we want.
yes, we do have keys. I plan to be at the track on Friday because there's a couple of things I need to do out there in the tower, but
Becca's gonna sit and wait for racing action. I'll
yes.
come out, Jessup, and we can, parade around with me in the back of the vehicle.
well, I have a Zoom
we're-
interview with one of the TV stations about Dacotah Speedway, so I might just do it at the racetrack because why not?
That'd be fun.
That would be
Would be.
Here is Princess Becca in her tower, looking down upon all the other people.
All the peasants.
I had a little bit of free time on Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon. And I actually kind of wanted to see how many cars were actually at Test and Tune. Of course,
All of them.
not an official count, but I think it was around 110 cars. So
Yeah.
that's like a really good car count, especially for a Test and Tune. Like that's
Yeah, that's a really good count. It's a really good car count.
And we had a little bit of everything. We had the wingless sprint, as you guys mentioned, late models. We had some slingshots, sport mods were there, and then a lot of our weekly classes. And we even had some Wissota Street Stocks, even though
Yeah.
we plan to race those full time this year. They can race with our IMCA stock cars at Dacotah Speedway. We still had some Wissota Street Stocks show up and turn some laps. So, and the stock cars, there were a lot of stock cars
Mhm.
there. So hopefully that bodes well to the car counts that we hopefully will see at Dacotah Speedway this year.
So for car counts, I just highlighted a couple of classes. Legends, there was over 30. I think I counted about 35, about 20 to 22 stock cars / street stocks, and about 25 mods. So pretty good showing for those car classes, especially good showing for the hobbies as well with 17. So, and of course, not everyone's car is ready, not everyone's car is lettered. So having this extra week off to kind of prepare and get those final things ironed out, I'm sure we'll see some new faces come season opening night or weekend on the 26th and 27th. Were there any big surprises from people that you saw out on the racetrack? Anything that kind of was like, huh, got kind of surprised, whether it's like paint scheme related or just like the way they looked out on the track?
Yes, I had a few. I was very surprised and did not know that the Travis Doctor family was getting back into racing. I had known Travis back in the late 90s, early 2000s when my dad was still involved with Daryl Bauer. Travis would also come over to Jamestown and run Mandan in his modified as well, and took several years off, and his family grew his family, and now both him and his son are back into the racing scene back in Legends. So that was kind of cool to see. And then paint scheme wise, there are some nice paint schemes. I really like Quentin's new paint scheme, Kinsley's. He has went away from his traditional colors to go more black, green, and white this year. So that paint scheme was pretty sharp from Quentin. Um, and kind of a surprise when I walked up the grandstands and got to the tower to kind of, partake and test and tune. So yeah, so his paint scheme looks really nice from that perspective.
I did get a chance to talk with Matt Dosh after I think it was his first run around the track, and he has been racing street stock for the last several years. So this is his first stint in a stock car. He came in and I was just kind of going around getting some video, and he's just like, whew, this is different. So sure it's gonna take a little time for him and some of the other drivers to kind of get used to new car, new class, everything. But I suspect it won't take him long to get used to it. He's a pretty good racer. So his car looks really sharp too. Of course, we mentioned it paint scheme last week, but that's also another really good looking car. So excited to see what he does in 2024 as well.
I don't think a lot of people are surprised to see some of our modified drivers do double duty with the IMCA stock car, but some things that took me by surprise, there's going to be quite a few of our Dacotah Speedway hobby stocks also racing IMCA stock cars. So that's going to be interesting to see how they do for racing those two racing divisions. But so I think it'll be interesting to see how the running order will be this year. As of the season opener, they're going to leave it the same to see who all is going to race double duty at Dacotah Speedway. And I think they're going to try to base it off a weekly basis. So, I mean, the first night out fingers crossed, is in April. So we hope to have lots of cars from across the state since no one else is racing. But I think they're going to wait and see a few weeks to see how they can tweak that running order, because we don't want to have to wait for, 5, 8, 10 drivers to hop out of one car and hop into another. So that just really slows the show down. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Dacotah Speedway, I think we're going to have a really healthy stock car count this year, but I think it's going to be, we're going to have to kind of go through a couple weeks to figure out what is the right running order for Dacotah Speedway based on this brand new car class for us. And it'll be fun to watch.
I would just move the Legends and the stock cars around. One, it gives a better track for the stock cars, and it gives the drivers more time to switch over. 2, it also gives the Legend drivers who are coming from a potential B main a little longer period to, take care of their cars prep them, let them the motors cool down, and I think that'd be wiser. Plus, I don't think the change of running order would really hinder their abilities of having competitive races on Dacotah Speedway's racing surface, as they can race high, they can race low, and honestly, it would also probably prevent uh, any, say, mud, like slick mud, from that may not have been ran in from the hobby stocks uh, to be out there still. So, uh, preferably, I would think it would be a wise decision for them to go that route. But these are the growing situations that you get when you have new car classes, and I think they'll handle it quite well.
I would agree with Jessup on that too, because I know we kind of discussed it a little bit this past weekend, just with the volume of drivers that might be doing double duty within, the stock car and modified division directly, that maybe that, one class in between might be a better option for sure. But I agree with Jessup on that. I think it'll be probably a better track for the stock cars to run in, even than having legends, just because they're, a little bit heavier of a car, they're full bodied and everything else. And plus, the Legends put on a really, really good show too, especially at Dacotah Speedway lately, on a little bit of a slicker track when there's not so much even moisture in it from after reworking it, after basically the hobbies would come out and they would run. And then a lot of times the moisture is still soaking down in the bottom of the track. So a lot of times the Legends migrate towards that to where, once the end of the feature, that top side finally starts coming in a little bit. So I think it'll actually be even better for maybe both divisions by that time frame.
Well, swapping the legends and the stock cars has been discussed, so we'll see what they decide after a few weeks when we start seeing some trends as to who is racing weekly and who is doing double duty each and every Friday. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Good points that you all brought up. And you mentioned that some people are doing double duty with stock cars and mods. Some might be doing hobby stocks and stock cars, like the Appers. I couldn't believe how many cars were in around their pit area. I was like, good grief. They've accumulated some vehicles over the off season. So I'm sure they'll be very, very busy throughout the racing season, outside of their farming that they do. So they'll definitely be ones to watch out of the track this year as well. Awesome. Well, that was some nice takeaways from the test and tune at Dacotah Speedway. I wanted to do a quick shout out to the Brown County Speedway for their mall show. They had a really good turnout of all their cars, and it was awesome to see the turnout there. I believe they had a signing session on that Saturday, and they handed out awards for the best in class for each of them. And so that's awesome that there's more like car shows taking place, getting fans, getting drivers, getting everyone excited for the race season. So just wanted to send a shout out down to Brown County Speedway for their car show as well. So, moving on to the real deal with the schedule updates. What's coming next? Thank you so much, Brody Carlsrud. He's a driver of the B1 IMCA stock car. We might see him over at Dacotah Speedway to start the year. We'll see. Hopefully, the weather cooperates. Be sure to check out his podcast, The Real Deal with B1. He's got several episodes out already, so check him out on Spotify and Apple. So, thank you once again, Brody, for supporting us on the podcast. And Mr. Dacotah Dirt, have you been busy trying to update all these schedules, especially with the recent cancellations and postponements?
Did you know, race fans, drivers, podcast listeners, and everything else? We have not done this yet this year because it hasn't been time, but it is now time that there is other gimmicks out there that you should not follow. You should definitely follow Dacotah Dirt. They are your one-stop shop for everything racing news, results, news stories, and even weather forecasts. That's important here throughout the race season, so you can check them out. Again, they are social. They are on social media platforms, and of course, their website at dakotahdIrt.org. So again, one-stop shop for everything North Dakota racing news related.
Jessup, you should add a new segment to your website, and it's like, where's Mason this weekend? So for drivers, they can avoid those tracks in case of rainouts.
Well,
This is true.
we do have that segment. It's the predicted weather forecast.
But
If you see rain, don't go there. That's where Mason is.
I was like, you have to
This
give
is
the
true.
admin access because it can change on a whim.
No, It's been interesting, Mason. I know we got to go back in and pretty much clear out everything for this week, which won't take too long. But um, unfortunately, it does appear and does seem like the Dacotah Speedway is going to not race this week as they have postponed to next week. And just hot off the press, Devil's Lake has decided to forego this week as well. So this means if you want to watch any racing, you are going to have to watch it off of either a broadcast or you're going to have to travel. Now, for our racing fans to the north and west, I believe the Motor City is it the not Motor City, Magic City Car Show
Yep.
is happening this weekend. Should be a great time. Sounds like they're going to get anywhere from I'll say a low number here of 25 all the way up to 45 cars. There, I like to be optimistic. Hopefully 45, maybe 50 cars. But that should be a good time as well. The multiple days. Mason, I would have to pull up the site right now, but are they having their test and tune? I have that up. Let me pull that up. I don't think it's
believe-
this weekend.
No, the test and tune, I have it on my schedule, I believe. It is
It is the 5th of May. So,
oh, it's yours is the 5th of May. I have mine listed as the 28th of April.
well, then maybe I have all my dates wrong because every now and then my calendars are mixed up. Let us look.
But yeah, just to kind of touch on that,
Oh,
Magic
no,
City.
you're right. I'm looking at the May schedule. That's when
Okay. Yep.
the May schedule really kicks things up. So, it looks like next week's going to be opening week, hopefully, if the weather holds out. The 26th and 27th is the Mandan Meltdown at the Dacotah Speedway. The 27th of April also is the opening week for Devil's Lake as well. Then once we get to May, it's everybody's game for the most part. Dacotah Speedway, Red River, and Devil's Lake, and No Deck Speedway all are racing May 3rd through the 5th. So that is what we got coming up. Test and tune looks like Nodak April 28th, Williston Basin May 4th, and I haven't heard much from our friends out at Southwest Speedway, so we'll keep an eye on them along with our friends out east. I haven't seen too much, so we'll have to put a little extra time in this weekend to figure out what's going to be taking place over the next month and a half.
Well, if it's anything like the weather you guys potentially got yesterday or the day before, we got a lot of rain over here this last day and a half, so things are pretty moist right now. So nothing taking place anytime soon.
Well, that is because you're over there, so
I was gonna say you've been in the area.
Yeah, I made sure that pretty much anywhere within a 6-hour radius got some moisture.
I'm proud of you, Mason. You're really expanding your horizons. Now, if you could just do that to the Minnesota tracks and not us.
Well, speaking of Minnesota, I think most of them have kind of foregone this weekend as well. I'm still waiting to see if Granite City is going to pull the trigger this Sunday, the 21st. I'm banking they're probably not, but right now they're still on the schedule. Red Cedar Speedway would probably be the next closest after that, and they actually got their first race of the year in last Friday. And
yeah, it's not looking good for a lot of races over there. I know Cedar Lakes, their legendary season openers canceled. The Mississippi Thunder, IRA Sprint Car Special, they're having a tough season. Their first 2 opening weeks have been postponed or canceled. It's not looking good right now. There's been a lot of storms moving across the country and a lot of tornadic activity going through Iowa as well.
yeah, and Rice Lake is also scheduled to open this weekend, and they canceled.
Yep.
So might be another week for everyone to get their stuff ready to go, which I'm sure is a welcome sight for many people around the racing community. So we'll keep everyone updated as the next week goes along, and hopefully we'll get racing come next weekend as long as the weather cooperates. As far as latest and greatest paint schemes, any other paint schemes that kind of stick out over this last week? Of course, we saw a bunch of them at Test and Tune, and this was a beautiful weekend for people to work on their cars. So people had them out in the sun taking some cool pictures. So what do we got?
I thought Tom Barry's mod looked really cool. I'm going to catch a lot of crap from Mason on this, but it's literally all different forms of gray.
Yes,
And it
his
actually,
favorite race color is gray.
no, that is your favorite race color because you keep going every year when Ekblad comes out with his car. Mason has just he cannot contain his joy and his excitement over the all gray car. It was what?
That would be Jeff Ekdahl, not Dan
Ekdahl,
Ekblad.
Ekblad. I have a friend Ekblad, so whatever.
The Dan-
Ekdahl.
real driver from Minnesota, number 18.
18, yeah.
And what color is it?
Daniel Ekblad's car. I don't know if I've seen his car this year
I
yet.
haven't seen it yet.
Oh,
Mhm.
hold on. So I have Ekdahl, Ekblad. Who cares? There's Ek, and they probably all have gray. Primer gray. Or matte gray, whatever you want to call it.
Anyways, continue.
Anyways, you can cut all that out. I don't care. Anyways, Tom Barry's car looks really cool. It stands out. I don't know how it stands out, but it actually pops with nothing but whites and grays. It looks cool.
Absolutely. I'd have to look back at his post because I think it had some extra meaning behind it. While people come up with other schemes, I'm gonna look at that up again. Becca, do you have any schemes that stick out for you?
Yeah. I know we chat, we share paint schemes a lot in our chats, but hang on.
Oh,
Um,
I found Tom Barry's post. So it's the paint scheme. It has a gray ribbon on it. He has a friend, Blake Brown, who's battling grade 4 glioblastoma. So that's part of the significance of the wrap for Tom Barry Jr.
And his new shirts look really cool too, which are
Yeah,
based.
they do. They look really nice.
Yep.
Yeah, so we share a lot of paint schemes in our private group chat, and one of the schemes I really liked this week was Chad Fouquet out of St. Cloud, Minnesota. I've been a huge fan of those reflective, shiny vinyls, and he uses that in his wrap, which is primarily white with some hints of and stripes of blue. Blue's my favorite color, so obviously I gravitate towards those colors of cars, but huge fan of that reflective, shiny of that vinyl. And a lot of cars are using that reflective vinyl this year. It's really cool to see. So that was one of my favorite paint schemes so far. I also really liked Josh Rorick, this car. He's been building this car for the last year and a half. It was ready to go about midpoint last summer, but he decided to save it for the brand new season this year. So brand new race car for Josh Rorick out of Minoka, North Dakota. And I just really love all the different uses of different tints and colors of blue, gray, and black. And obviously his numbers of fluorescent yellow. So it really pops off that blue paint scheme. So really huge fan of that car. It looks really nice and looked good out on the track during Test and Tune. So those are just two cars that I really liked this week. What about you guys?
John, you got a couple?
I got 5.
Well, I
5.
had
I'm
I'm taking 5 right away.
well, I just want to take one
So-
more then before he goes. I like
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
Shane Sabraski.
Oh, that late model's cool. Yeah.
That late model is really cool.
Yes.
I would agree. That late model's pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to start Aberdeen's car show because there was a couple down there that I really liked. So, first one, really like Jaden Michelson's street stock. He is going into a street stock this year. So it'll be interesting to see if Jaden actually goes more for the National Rookie of the Year for Wasota. That would be kind of cool to see if he would chase that a little bit. So Jaden Michelson's street stock, really nice. Pat Wisegraham's late model. I
Oh.
really liked his late model. It's more of that simple color, but it's a really nice blend of he's got some, neon yellow on there, but he's got the nice little bit of black in there with the white, and it just kind of flows down the side of the car. It looks really nice. So Pat's 32 late model is looking really sharp. Maria Brozic, her street stock really sharp this year. I really like the way that gray and orange kind of match each other down on her car. So that looked really nice for what I had seen here for the upcoming season. So those three down there were super, super nice schemes that I pretty much had, kind of looked at and came across over here the last week. Other cars that I really, really, really liked paint schemes on. So Adam Martinson with his Wasota Midwest Modified. That scheme is sharp. He's got the blue this year, and he's got a little bit of some tin coat in there with some of the yellows. I'm a really big like neon yellow person, like Becca said earlier. I think those just look really sharp on cars across the board. And the final one on here is actually one of the drivers that's to the west of us over in Dickinson. Mason actually shared this photo yesterday. And it's Aiden Paul's IMCA hobby stock.
Yep.
It is a very nice scheme. It is white with blue and orange, and the orange really pops on that paint scheme. It just has a really, really, really nice flow to it down the side of the car. And that scheme this year has looked really, really, really nice.
Excellent. Excellent set of schemes there. I'll add 3 more for now. I really like Kyle Anderson's street stock. Went with a completely different body style this year than previous years. It's still the same chassis, still the same car, just a different body style, but nice separation with the black and white, and of course the neon green numbers that he's been known for over the last several years. And so I thought that car looked really sharp over at Test and Tune. One of the other street stocks that I liked was Trey Hess, which is a tribute scheme with the cancer awareness for Julie Peterson and the Peterson family. That car looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to be really, really bummed when it gets this first tire mark on that car this year, but definitely really good job by whoever put that wrap together. I'm not sure who did, but really nice looking car. And I loved Sean Strand's modified. I think that looks really nice. I think the numbers pop out really well. Of course, he's always got like some sort of neon yellow in his scheme, and I think it really really pops out when it's on the track. And of course, he looked really good at Test and Tune as well. So that's just a few of the paint schemes from this last week that stood out to me.
I can't believe nobody said Travis Tooley, because we all at one point.
Oh, Travis had a gorgeous
Travis's car
Yeah.
looks really nice.
Oh, nice. Travis Tooley's IMCA
Yep.
modified.
Yep.
It's a primarily white car, but the pink in his car decals are all super shiny, sparkly vinyl, and it looks so pretty out in the sun. And the way the sun hits it, it actually kind of changes the colors of the pink and the colors of his sponsors and car number. So really, really pretty car.
Well, and
So
go ahead, John.
a couple other ones that I did like that, I wanted to only pick 5, but I'll pick a couple more. Andy Wagner's IMC Sport Mod, really nice scheme this year on how the orange goes down to the white. Super, super sharp this year. That scheme is really, really, really pretty on his car for sure. And then the other one that kind of just got released as a surprise announcement is I've always liked, Nate Reynolds' paint schemes. And Nate is moving to a late model, and it looks really sharp. So Nate's paint scheme, I think, is really sharp here for 2024.
That was actually going to be the one I was just going to mention too. That was definitely a surprise. I thought he was going to stay in the Midwest mod, but I think he's always hinted at trying something different, whether it's a late model or sprint car. So cool to see him, another new face jumping in the late model class. Awesome. Well, that's the latest and greatest paint schemes. Of course, with another full week before racing kicks off around our area in particular, there's going to be a lot more released, and so we'll share a few more next week on the show as well. As we display the white flag, let's see, what should we do? Does anyone have like a bold prediction for 2024 to finish out the episode? Anything that they're watching or anything like that?
I think I mentioned it on last week's episode of our TPP podcast, but I think at the rate we're going, I think Dacotah Speedway could see more IMCA stock cars than we had Soda Street Stocks, which I didn't think would happen, switching car classes. But apparently there's been a lot of huge driver support behind the new car class, and it'll be fun to see how many IMCA stock cars Dacotah Speedway sees on a weekly basis.
Yeah. I think we've usually done like bold predictions for like WISSOTA national champions. I think we might do that next show or the show after, because there's only been a couple races and it's hard to tell. Like, we don't necessarily know who's all going to be racing in what class. So kind of getting an idea over this first week or two on who's all going to be in that class. So we'll probably do some bold predictions for national champions as well. But gosh, what do you got, Jessup?
This is my bold prediction. Opening stock car race at Dacotah Speedway. I am going to say an outsider wins.
That's a good prediction.
That's a good prediction.
Not that I don't have faith in our local guys. It just, I think the outside drivers will have the early advantage until about maybe June. And then I think you'll see a big transition of power, shall we say, by about a week or two after the Ironman.
Solid prediction. John, do you have a bold prediction? I do have one, because we kind of talked about this this past weekend.
Well, you can go ahead first, and I can take something after.
Okay, well, we mentioned Jaden Michelson moving into a street stock, and John mentioned it with the paint scheme too. Could be a contender for WISSOTA National Rookie of the Year, because he's got several tracks within the area that he could potentially race on a weekly basis. Of course, he's a frequent visitor to Issac. Aberdeen's his hometown, and Jamestown, which he also frequents. And so that's 3 tracks on a weekly basis, or whenever Issac races, that he could potentially run for rookie national points. So I think he could be, I think I'll make a bold prediction that he's going to be the National Rookie of the Year in WISSOTA Street Stocks.
Now, does he go to Jamestown or is he going to go to Miller?
That is also something John and I talked about too. It's like, he's got options.
He does. He does have options to see where he needs to go, like on a Saturday.
Or does he try to avoid Maria and go somewhere else?
Or does he avoid where Mason is?
What was that, Becca?
Or does he try to avoid where Mason goes because you don't want to go where the rain is?
Oh, this is true. This is very true.
Go to Miller then. And Aberdeen.
Because yes, this is true, because Mason's kind of close to the other areas on there. Although Jaden is really good in Jamestown, so we'll see, we'll see how he does over in that neck of the woods as well.
Could also go to Casino Speedway on Sundays too. That's not too far of a drive.
Okay, so my bold prediction, and last year it happened, and it might happen again this year. My bold prediction is that last year we had a national champion in WISSOTA, and I'm not going to name any classes here. I'll name it for last year, but last year we had a national champion that was also Rookie of the Year in WISSOTA, and in basically for the same division. Tyler Peterson did it in late models last year. National champion as well as Rookie of the Year. I feel like, well, I said I'm not going to name it for this year, but I feel like this year that could happen again within divisions, because, and I will actually name a couple names here. If you look at late models, you have Sobraski now in a late model. You have Johnny Broking now in a late model. So the late models, remember, show number count for national championships is a lot lower than it is for, a WISSOTA mod, a WISSOTA super stock, a WISSOTA Midwest mod. So if somebody gets on a hot streak and clicks them off, they could definitely be in the running for national champion. But same thing for other classes within the WISSOTA realm. IMCA is a little bit different because there's just more of a national geographic for IMCA on that side. But for the WISSOTA side, I could definitely see potentially having it happen again this year.
Yeah, especially with late models, with it being 20 shows. Yeah, it just takes someone getting hot for a few weeks, and all of a sudden they just vault to the top of the standings, and it's like, oh, well, they're the hot shoe now.
Yeah, it kind of, it kind of puts a little bit of a more of a fold, especially with Sobraski moving up to late model division, with how many national championships he has in the, super stocks Midwest mods already. I mean, that is definitely going to be an interesting battle to watch.
I'll be curious to see how much he runs the late model.
Same.
Awesome. Well, that's some pretty bold predictions. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out for the 2024 season. With that, that'll do it for episode 5 of season 3. As always, be sure to like, share, and comment. Give us a question that you want us to discuss on the show. We'd love to chat about whatever it is you want to talk about. Spotify, Google, and Apple is where you can find us in the audio platform. Thank you to our sponsors, Hitch Harness, Real Deal with the B1, and Hot Sauce Sondrol. Racing is just about a week or two away. Hopefully, we will see you out there packing the track.